These first reveals are the beginning of something great.
Stand up! Vanguard!
Hey Cardfighters, welcome back to another episode of the Road to Nextage. And with the new reveals for the trial deck, and basically the first reveals of these trial decks, we have a better understanding of what Gear Chronicle is going to bring for us for Standard and Premium with Chronojet and potentially Nextage and all the extra support coming in the Nextage extra booster set. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's analyze these first couple of cards that we got from the trial deck, where we have a basic understanding of which direction they want to take this new support for Chronojet and basically Gear Chronicle as a whole. Because it's only the very first couple of cards and it looks like that Chrono Jet Dragon is gonna do its own thing, there isn't really a lot that we can go around for Standard with these card reveals, but we can make an educated guess in which direction they want to go. However, these reveals do give us more insight of what we can experiment for Premium as a whole with these new cards, because we already have a basis in Premium itself. So without further ado, let's jump right into these 5 new cards that we got for Gear Chronicle, and a couple of them already addressed, but in this video we're gonna go a little bit deeper in the aspect of what we can utilize these cards with the already existing engine for Gear Chronicle in Premium and to some extent in Standard. So first off, we got our best boy, the main starter of the deck, and that's of course Chrono Jet. And keep note, this card has the new skill printed on the card with the whole shield ticket attached to it with it when riding, when it went second. But all the other starters that you already have for your other clans are going to be eroded with this same skill. So don't be afraid that your clan or your starter doesn't have access to these new shield tickets if you don't have it, because everyone is going to be eroded. This card doesn't bring anything new to the table, it's just a generic starter, and in Gears we don't have anything that synergizes with Chrono Jet, but it's a nice artwork, it's pretty awesome, and yeah, it's pretty cool that we have the best boy back as a starter, and it's definitely going to be the one run in most Gear Chronicles deck. At least for me, that's the case. Now we got another one of these generic support cards for the trial deck, which we are also going to see with Neo Nectar and with Royal Paladin, and one of these generic cards is this grade 2 Steam Fencer Idina. And it basically has a skill, auto and rear circle, when it attacks while boosted, this unit gets power plus 5k until the end of turn. So if it's boosted by an 8k, it becomes a solid 23k column. Is it something groundbreaking or revolutionary? No. We have seen this in other clans, it's a very generic beater card. It's a nice addition for a trial deck. It probably won't see any play in actual decks, only outside budget decks for Standard, and nowhere near in Premium in what shape or form. But now we get to the actual very interesting card, and this is something that I speculated that we would get, and these are grade 1 and grade 2 versions of Chrono Jet Dragon himself that are in Transit and Cruising Dragon. And we got the grade 1 version revealed a couple of days ago, and that is Bearing Rover. And its abilities are Auto and Vanguard Circle, when it attack hits, cost, discard a card from your hand and draw a card. And its second ability is Continues in hand. When this card would be discarded, it may be discarded as a grade 3. If that sounds familiar, it's basically a new version of Wedge Move Drago Kid. In its second ability is identical, and its first ability is almost identical. The only difference is that Wedge Move binds a card and then draws it, and this one discards and draws it. Is that small difference a big thing? It depends on the build, but the answer can be yes. Because if you want to play the bind mechanic deck with either Chrono Fang in Premium, or you want to use the standard version Misty Flare, then having Wedge Move is much better as it synergizes with your build. But if you are more on a discard variant, or you have more drop zone synergies, which we have in Premium with Gears with also ZTB engine, or you're playing the Fang standard cards that have discard abilities that then trigger, then Bearing Rover has more use for that build. So each of the cards have their own unique synergies with specific cards, which can be nice, because if you have this as your Vanguard and you attack with it and you hit, you can potentially discard the grade 2, the Steam Engineer Julia, that then can recall itself to the field in rest in the front row. And you can have an Interceptor for next turn, or you can attack with it standard for next turn, grade 2, you already have a grade 2 standing onto the field. So it has some synergies in that aspect. But overall, it's really nice to have yet again another Stride Fodder, because now we have 2 grade 1s and a grade 2 that can be counted as a grade 3 when discarded. And when we go into the premium side, we have even a couple extra Stride Fodder. So if you want to go nuts, you can almost build an entire grade 1 lineup that can be used as a Stride Fodder, which helps with consistency wise where you want to stride in general. Also, if you have this and wedge move together, you basically have almost 100% of the time the perfect grade 1 ride target, unless you're running some extra couple of grade 1s, but with 2 grade 1s that have a going second ability, that can be nice. Don't know if you actually want to do it, but it opens up the possibility for that as well. And also aesthetic wise, it looks pretty awesome in the Chrono Jet Dragon build. Now those were the new cards that were revealed after the Cardfight update from last week, where I went over the reveals for Metallica Phoenix and Chrono Jet Dragon that basically are the new boss units from the trial deck, and I went over their skills and what they could do in a generic sense. Now I want to tackle those cards again, but this time a little bit more in depth, because there are certain things that I didn't address because the video was already running long with the whole ban list aspect, because that was the main attraction to that video. But now I can go into a little bit more detail for these cards. And I want to start off with Interdimensional Beast Metallica Phoenix. And this is basically the new grade 4 that you cannot ride from hand, but you can still use it for the Superior Ride Engine. And the difference is, because it's a 15k vanilla, it does have the triple drive attached to it. And even though that might sound like nothing or pretty vanilla, it is a big thing to have that on the card printed itself. Because unlike all the other grade 4s that we already have access to, this one, by nature and inherently, doesn't minus you. It has the same value like all the old strides in the G era, where you discarded a card, but you get an additional drive check, which would then negate that discard. Which means you will have the same amount of pluses, which you would normally have with just attack with the grade 3 with the twin drive. That's the big issue. You won't no longer minus yourself. And for standard, this doesn't really mean that a lot. But for premium, this is a big thing. Because if you wanted to play with Lost Legend and potentially with Chrono Fang and now with the new Chrono Jet, where you want to use that Superior Ride effect, you were probably actively minusing yourself to get that grade 4 from your deck onto the field. And minusing yourself is almost never a good thing unless you can kill your opponent. But with the power level of these grade 4s from the main deck, that's currently not possible in premium. Because what the thing is, what you were doing is, when you went first, or you was the first to go to grade 3, you do that to get an extra force marker for next turn. So you're not planning to kill your opponent on that specific turn. So minusing yourself before you needed to guard against an oppressive turn from your opponent when they're going to stride against you, it's never a good thing. Now with Metallica Phoenix, you no longer have to minus yourself, and that is a big thing, because now you can put up some extra pressure, get a potential double force marker to set up for next turn. And I have seen in the comments, and I've seen a lot of people are arguing, playing main deck grade 4s is not good and timely. It's not going to help you at all, and it helps you with clunking your way because you want to use the Elite 4. If you honestly think that the Elite 4 is the main reason why Time Leap is so strong, you're vastly mistaken. Because if it was only the Elite 4 that made Gear Chronicle as insanely powerful as it was, then it would probably be as strong as Aquaforce. Because the Elite 4 on its own can be stopped by a single damage trigger, just like Aquaforce was at the time of the G era. Unless you went into Lambroke, then it was a different story. Because most of Gear Chronicle's Elite 4 attacks were 11k pokes. The main reason why it was so insanely strong and oppressive was the inclusion of the Elite 4, with the addition of cards that allows you to shuffle cards back into your deck that could also be triggers, like Tickaway Dragon, the Uluru G-Guards, which was also a reason. They also got insanely strong G-Guards like Uluru, but also Hetero Round, which gives them field controls. And on top of that, the Time Leap engine, besides the Elite 4, allows them to be very versatile with their multi-attacking. So they didn't have to rely only on the Elite 4 play tactics, because if they were going up against a defensive trigger, they could circumvent their multi-attack pattern to a certain way, which allows them to mid-battle, mid their already attacking progress, to then change up their tactic and then hit over defensive triggers for maybe less number of attacks, but still put out that pressure that they could. If they only relied on the Elite 4, this was never the case, and then Gear Chronicle Time Leap would probably never been as oppressive as it was in the past. Because it's not only the Elite 4 that make them this strong. And the reason why I'm explaining this, because not only does Gear Chronicle, the Time Leap build itself, suffers from an early game advantage, because you don't have any early game whatsoever. It's all GB restricted, and you want to stride to do that. Means you lack an early game, but if you only focus on the Elite 4, you lack versatility and options. With Interdimensional Beast Metallica Phoenix as your new grade 4 main deck target, you can fix a couple of these problems, because now you have early game, as you don't really care if you went first or your opponent is allowing you to go first to grade 3, because now what you can do is set up for your kill turn next turn, because you can ride up to your grade 3, get the force marker, use the ability, superior ride into Metallica Phoenix, get the triple drive but also don't actively minus, and you then generate another force marker, and if you can rewrite next turn, you have 3 force markers where you then can go on to the multi-tech with those 3 force markers, making your balance potentially 31k or 41k, which then is very deadly. But also another thing is, by running 1 or 2 Metallica Phoenix in your main deck, allows you to have more options to go into your multi-tech combos. Because now, if you're up against defense triggers, and defense triggers are more annoying nowadays because they're 10k instead of 5k, you could then go from a grade 1 to a grade 2, maybe grade 2 from grade 3, and then you were stuck. You could not really time leap further from a grade 3 standpoint because there's nothing more. With a grade 4, you can then go beyond that one step further and then time leap into it from the main deck and go for 1 extra attack, which allows you to then do 1 extra damage or force 1 extra card from your opponent's hand. That is a big thing, and I've seen timely players using that with Mystery Flare in their main deck, and they mainly use Mystery Flare to get that extra force marker, but they had to actively minus for that, which made the play less ideal. Now with Metallica Phoenix, you don't have to minus, so you're losing that that problem with the card or the tactic, so it becomes a much better tactic, and you get all the plus upside from having a main deck grade 4 for 1 or 2 copies, so you can extend your time leap combos in more different scenarios if your field wasn't ideal. Because the whole time leap deck is all around having options, and just restricting yourself to the Elite 4 play isn't really that good as you think, because then if you only focus on that, you're never gonna make it in Premium, because Premium is way beyond the Elite 4 mechanic, and if you just stick by that thing, you're outdated like 2 years and you're never gonna catch up. We need to adapt with Gear Chronicle if you want to overcome insane decks like Gastille or Neo Nectar or other decks that are going to come up with the prospect of Premium Collection 2020. So we need to drop these old ideas of what made Time Leap good and start to invest and experiment with new tactics, and allows us to go beyond what we were capable of in the past. And another good card that allows us to do that is of course Chrono Jet Dragon, the new version of the V series. And you probably already are aware of what the card's capable of, as its first ability is basically the Last Legend superior ride ability, and its second ability allows it as an auto Vanguard to Rearguard Circle on attack to counter +1, and until the end of the battle this unit gets power plus 5k and it gets the Sentinel Guard Restrict, which is pretty damn good, as this ability synergizes with a lot of cards in Standard as well as in Premium. And for those who are familiar, it's basically the old GB2 ability that synergized with the old Nextage, where you then attack in with a Guard Restrict. This ability in itself really screams that Nextage is going to do the same as its previous G-era counterpart. But for now, we can only speculate with what Standard is going to use this card for, as there is a lot of options available to it, but not concrete plans, because if we get a counter charge of mid-battle, this can be insane with something like Rebellion with the whole -5k shield. But with the cards that we already have available to us, this on a rearguard spot or even a Vanguard spot can be insane with Steam Skara Kalane, as Kalane limits your opponent to guard with a maximum of 3 cards. With a PG Guard Restrict on top of that, and if you build it high enough, basically prevents your opponent from guarding the attack. So depending on how we can power up Chronojet, this can basically be a guaranteed damage, or potentially 2 damage if it gets a crit, and maybe 3 damage if it gets double the crit. So there is a lot of potential in this ability. But in Premium, it's even better, because in Premium, it synergizes with Nextage, or Greer Groovy for that matter. So that's already a plus. But it also synergizes with Time Leap as a whole, because you can just time leap into the rearguard slot and then attack with it, potentially a one or final attack that has the PG Guard Restrict, which can be pretty nice. And it also synergizes with Crossover Dragon, as that wants to utilize rearguard Chronojets, but the problem is with the old era Chronojets, they never got a rearguard skill, so it was just 11k vanilla beat attacks. Now with this ability, it at least have some more things to it, so it can potentially make Crossover Dragon a lot better. How much better? I'm not sure. We can only try to experiment and hopes and dreams that it actually becomes a good thing, because Crossover Dragon resets itself, so that in itself synergizes really well with Il Kabu, which is also a pretty insane card for Gear Chronicle. But another thing is that this also synergizes really well with the old Chrono Jet starter, as Chrono Jet fetches a Chrono Jet Dragon and then calls it to the field, and at the end of the turn bounce it back. Now you can search out this Chrono Jet Dragon and have a potential guard restrict on that attack as well. So there is a lot more applications in Premium with Chrono Jet Dragon, but that's to be expected because there is a lot more cards out there that were already designed for Chrono Jet. And for Standard, we're just starting with this new build. We only have Chrono Jet Dragon and Metallica Phoenix and of course Baron Rover, which probably are going to introduce this new playstyle for Gear Chronicle for Standard aspect. And it depends on how these cards interact. This could also translate really well in Premium, as we already have a founded basis for Chrono Jet Dragon. Because a big thing for Gear Chronicle in Premium now is that we get Chrono Jet Dragon, which allows Premium Gears to finally reuse Hate Around Dragon, which is our most powerful G-Guard, which allows us to in some way compete with the top tier decks, as it gives us a good way to defend ourselves to these insane combos. So it's very likely that we're going to start to enter a new age for Gear Chronicle, where it can suddenly rise from the ashes and be once again a high top tier contender. But it all depends on the coming weeks when we start seeing the reveals for the next stage booster set. But that's basically everything that I want to address for this Road to Next Stage. There is a lot that we can look forward to, as these new cards for Gear Chronicle with the Chronojet engine are looking very promising, because it really started trying to tell a story what's going to come in the next weeks. But it's just the starting point of this story, so there isn't really a lot for Standard where we can speculate. Premium is a different story, as we already have a very good founded basis for Chronojet Dragon and all these support cards. But I think we're starting to grasp greatness for Gear Chronicle, as these cards with the prospect of next stage are telling me that this is gonna be glorious. So join me in this very exciting Road to Next Stage, as we're getting close, as we can taste next stage, and it probably will be here in a couple more weeks, and then things are gonna be exciting. But that's basically everything for today. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of the new Gear Chronicle cards. If you're excited for Chrono Jet Dragon's revival, or its return, its glorious return with its trusted campaign, Metallica Phoenix, and of course the prospect of next stage. As always, this video has been brought to you by our lovely patrons over at patreon.com/Vanguard Insider. You guys are amazing. If you do want to support the channel or everything that's happening on the channel, then head over to patreon.com/Vanguard Insider and become a patron today. But with that said, I'm Mr. Time Leap, and I see you guys in the next one!